Hello and welcome back to another short episode of Inside the Draw here on YouTube. We're on all platforms that you might listen to. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts. I post to Instagram. Give it a follow. Love to have your subscription and your enjoyment on a weekly basis. We did a recording yesterday for Monte Carlo, previewed the whole tournament, went through draw by draw, and I promised I'd come back and do an update for WTA Linz. Now, while we do have the draw, we don't actually have the betting markets yet. So I'm going to do a quick quarter by quarter look through the draw, and then I'll post or a clip on the end later once the markets are out. Look, it's a... When you have a player like Miranda Andreeva, who's like quite clearly the class of the field, you can get an unbalanced draw quite quickly, and she's the top seed, and it is a big gap between her and the rest of the field. So when we do see prices later, I expect her to be sub kind of plus 200 range. She'd probably be a plus 160, something in that region would be my guess. She does need a bounce back. She had a lower back injury in Miami that, she cited after her loss to Mboko as the reason she pulled out of her doubles there. Look, she would be disappointed having done so well in the Sunshine Double the year prior to not go out and reach those levels in 2026. So I think she needs a bounce back, and I think this tournament is the perfect spot for that bounce back. It's a relatively limited field. The only other girl I see in the top quarter, and the qualifiers haven't yet been placed, but the only girl I see up there is Sorona Cirstea, and Cirstea's had a lovely season, really impressive by her standards. She can trouble most players on her day. I think plenty would have to go wrong for Andreeva to lose to Cirstea, and she would be a decent favourite. So I expect probably Cirstea and Andreeva to meet in the quarters, and I expect Andreeva to come through that. Then you have the second quarter, where it's, any quarter that has Yelena Ostapenko on clay, particularly when she's talking a big game, is interesting. So she's come out recently and said that she wants to get her way back to the top 10, and she sees herself as a better player than her current results. And look, this is a French Open champion we're talking about here in singles. A very dangerous player on her day. Talk about painting the lines. This is the epitome of a player who can come out and just red zone for 2 hours and beat anybody, including your Sabalenka, Rybakina. Can literally beat anybody on her day. If you think back to that French Open final that she won, she beat a massively in-form Simona Halep. Nobody saw that coming. From memory, it was from a set down as well. So just incredible player. Look, she's a long way from that form, but at the same time, she's a danger in a draw like this. So I'd be interested to see a price. If she goes up at a big price in kind of 40 to 1 range plus 4,000, I would certainly be interested in a field like this. Alexandra Ayla is a player that I like. I have time for her. She hasn't done a lot on clay yet, but looking at her game, I think clay should suit her. She's quite a counter-puncher type style. Can get a lot of breaks, good returner. I think clay is going to suit her pretty well, so I'm interested to see what she goes up. Then the other two names in here are Diana Yastremska and Anne Lee in the second quarter. I don't rate either of those two as highly as Ostapenko or Alexandra Ayla, so interesting to see who comes out here. Again, I would be looking for a big price on Ostapenko ideally, or a big price on Ayla to get me interested. And in the bottom half, obviously, if we have Andreeva as the one seed and we're saying she's the class of the field, we want to take a look down in the bottom for, maybe some value or someone who can come from a long way and win as an outsider. So Jacqueline Christian is the first name I see in quarter 3 that pops out. She's in nice form. Look, I don't think she's a top player. I don't think she's as good as her countrywoman Sorona Cirstea, for example, who we mentioned earlier. So it would need to be a big price to be interested there. But, she could come through this quarter. Anastasia Potapova is the name that stands out to me in quarter 3. She's a newly I don't know what the right word is, but she's a new founded Austrian. She was a Russian. She now plays for Austria. She has citizenship in Austria. This tournament is in Linz, so you would imagine she'd have the support of the home crowd. She did skip Miami, so I wonder is she nursing something or is she okay? But again, I would be interested in her. She's probably the class of that third quarter when she's on her day. Very competitive player against most women on the tour. From memory, I think she ran Sabalenka relatively close recently. Maybe that was Indian Wells, but she looks pretty good to me here in this third quarter. And Lumira Samsonova is just one for me to avoid. She's the highest seed in this third quarter, but she's coming in on a 5-match losing streak. She is really a hot and cold player, and when she's not on form, I have no interest in her. So I would be bypassing her unless there was a huge price and a reason to get involved because of the price, and hope she turns her fortunes around this week. But for me, probably the standout there, and again, depending on price once the lines come available, will be Anastasia Potapova. And then looking at the bottom quarter, again, I do have an opinion here. Anyone who listened to the pod last week will know that my dark horse and kind of long shot in WTA Charleston was Sarah Bejlek. And I'm going to put her up again. I put her up at plus 4,000 in Charleston last week, and before a ball was hit, she was 25-1, plus 2,500. And she served for the first set against Belinda Bencic. She lost it in a tie break, having had a ton of chances, and then she got blown out in the second set. So she lost to Bencic in straights, but she made a decent account for herself, and she gave a decent account of herself. So she's someone that I'm interested in here. I think her potential is class. She had a title in Abu Dhabi where she beat some big names like Alexandrova and Towson and a few others just like 2 months ago. So she's someone I'm keen on. Karolina Pliskova is using this as her first tournament back. It's too soon for me. I want to see something from her before I'm willing to part with cash to bet on her. And then the 2 seed here is Alexandrova, Ekaterina Alexandrova, and she's had 1 win in her last 6, and she withdrew last week in Charleston with a back injury. So I have no interest in Alexandrova. I imagine she'll be like a second favourite in the betting, probably like plus 700 kind of range, and that's just an instant swerve for me. So the one at the top is like, let's see what price Andreeva goes up. If she goes up bigger than plus 200, she's probably a bet here. We will come back to that later. I want to keep an eye out for both Ostapenko and Alexandra Ayla in the top half, second quarter to see prices there. And then probably keep an eye for Potapova in quarter 3 in terms of a price that we're going to get. And the most interesting one for me is Sarah Bejlek to see what we're going to get there. I'd love to get something in the 20-1 range plus 2,000. And if you see that's one that's worth hopping on pretty quickly. There are very few additional markets built out from what we had on yesterday's pod when we previewed Monte Carlo. So again, to reiterate the one on there, couple of outrights like João Fonseca I think is fine at plus 5,000. Casper Ruud plus 6,600. I don't mind Musetti at plus 4,000 or plus 4,500. And then if you want one of the big 2, if you want to take one of the big 2 for the week, there's zero question that the right side there is to back Alcaraz. Do not back Sinner at the prices quoted yesterday. He's got a horrible draw. He's coming in with less time to prepare than all of the others. The prices don't make sense. So back Alcaraz if you're looking to back one of the big 2. And then the other one I liked was plus 3,300 on a Casper Ruud Alcaraz final. So just hoping that you catch Sinner napping to some degree, and Ruud has the quality to come through there. Alex Zverev is the other one. Sorry, plus 1,400, plus 1,400. I think he's worth a bet. You can get probably plus 1,600 if you shop around. So he's worth a bet to me as well. I'll come back with some prices. It might be on a reel or something later. Keep an eye out for WTA Linz. But there's the draw thoughts. Thank you.